Oh, boys, here we go. We haven't done the StreamYard thing in a while, and unfortunately, not under the best circumstances. Drew Franklin here with Jack Pilgrim and Zach Gagan in our respective homes during the winter storm in Kentucky. We're here after Kentucky just laid a big fat turd in Athens, Georgia, losing 82 to 69. A horrible game. We had Andrew Carr dunk on Somto Surreal, and it was all downhill from there.
I
I
forgot
mean, they're
about that.
chanting
I
overrated.
legitimately did forget that. I forgot that happened.
It's my one highlight. That's why I wanted to leave with it. That Lamont Butler are the two things they can hang their hats on. But boys, that was not a fun night by the Wildcats. A true all systems failure outside of Andrew Carr dunking on Somto. Although Somto got them back plenty of times. Cats lose big. Not the way anyone expected. We knew it was possible. It was a 1.5 point spread. Georgia's a good team. Suffered a loss on Saturday, but otherwise their best start in like 100 years. So we knew this was possible, but Jack Pilgrim, I don't think anyone saw it coming out the way it did there. Just never felt like Kentucky was in it at all.
I'm the idiot that predicted a blowout win in Kentucky's favor. So,
Half
boo-hoo
right.
me. And thank God I did not drive 8 hours to go. There was I test drove this morning the road conditions to just double and triple check that I was not going to be down there. Thank God I didn't, because I would have never been more angry in my life. 2 hours and 33 minutes to finish a regulation basketball game. It was halftime of the game after us on SEC Network. I've never, if you're wondering how long and what a root canal feels like, that's what it is. 2 hours and 33 minutes is the exact runtime of a root canal, and what we witnessed with 97 foul calls, 34 go to the monitor. I've never enjoyed a basketball experience less in my entire life than what that we experienced 82-69 in Athens. The team is soft. There's a blueprint out to beat this team. It's not really hard to figure it out if you just punch them in the mouth first, get physical with them, and just establish a physicality that the refs have no choice. Like, they can't call a foul on every single play, so might as well just
Almost.
get most of them. You can beat this team pretty soundly. So that's the recipe for disaster. Jackson Robinson, a no-show once again. Where is he? Is he still in Lexington? I don't know. But thanks for Lamont Butler to be the only guy that decided to show up in Athens, because everybody else was a big fat.
Zach, what's up with Jackson Robinson? What did he finish with? I know early he was 0 for 4. At one point, he had a wide open layup and throws it to Travis Perry in the corner. I don't know why he didn't take it. I mean, we've seen moments where these guys have kicked it out to Kobe Bryant for 3, turn it down open and look. But you are Jackson Robinson. I think he could have dunked it. I don't know if he's just lost all confidence, but that was without question his worst game of the season so far, and pretty concerning as it's getting into the meat of the schedule.
Yeah, as Jack was alluding to there with the head point, he is so far in his own head that his eyes are back here. He's like, I don't, he's just lost out there all the time. You're right. He started off 0 for 4, and he finally hit a three-pointer off balance to get his late shot clock situation. He finally hits a three, and then he just never gets the ball again. Terrible body language from him, not even helping up teammates, just getting beat on back doors. I mean, the effort overall was just terrible from everyone, not even just Jackson. Like, thank God for Lamont Butler having some sort of drive and willingness to actually fight in this game in the first half. Brandon Garrison showed some moments in the second half while Amari Williams and the entire front court really was dealing with foul trouble. Missed Jackson missed or passed up a wide open layup. I think there was probably 4 or 5 layups that were just passed up open shots. Andrew Carr just going up for layups when he should be going up for dunks. Just a very soft team, and when you're playing a team like Georgia that is just going to try and bully you the entire game, there was 45 foul calls in this game.
Oh,
But here's the thing is I'm not even going to blame the officials for any of this, because Kentucky shot under 40% from the field. They are now 1-3 when they shoot under 40% from the field. That is part of the blueprint, is make Kentucky play, try and get them into more one-on-one action. And that was like the entire last 10 minutes of the second half. They had 14 turnovers to 8 assists. Those, I don't know what the season low for assists is, but there's no way it's lower than 8. Like, they were just completely, I don't even know what the word is. They were just shocked. They were just absolutely shocked. They were stunned. They got punched. Like, they were just lying on the ground, and Santos Real was just repeatedly like laying punches into the face of Andrew Carr the whole game, and they just did nothing to respond. And that was really the most embarrassing part from a Kentucky fan perspective is, man, they just did not fight. There was no willingness to punch back from anyone, even in the moments when it felt like they wanted to fight back. They got down to 5 points at one. There was in a game where it felt like Kentucky should have been down by 45. They were down by 5 points. Somehow, some way, they had a chance. I think it was 55-50, and then they just lied down again and just let Georgia stomp all over them. You can say that Georgia was playing extra physical, but if the refs are going to call the game that way, you have to respond. You have to be able to dictate the pace your own way. Kentucky did not. Mark Pope did not make any of the adjustments that they needed to. Whatever they were just didn't fall right. It was embarrassing. They got punked. They got manhandled. Whatever weird words you want to use, it was embarrassing.
You mentioned they got it to 5. A glimmer of hope, even though I don't know how much y'all were believing. It never felt that serious. But they missed 5 straight shots once they got within 5. Next thing you know, it's a double-digit lead again. You mentioned the physicality, and I'm glad we waited this long to complain about the officials so we don't sound like sore losers. But it felt like Somto was being rewarded for fighting, and Amari would touch someone and it was a foul. When he was backing up on that guard, I mean, the guard just kind of, to his credit, played into Amari leaning on him when the size advantage showed. But I felt like Amari got called for 2 or 3 ticky-tack fouls where it's like, hey, look, Somto just powerbombed this guy through a table. How cool is that? I didn't think it was being called the same way. Credit to him, credit to Somto. He was bullying him. As you said, Andrew Carr wanted no piece of that. At one point, to box Somto out, he was turning around and just like shoving him, face guarding him. Had never really seen that
He
move
wrapped him
before.
up in that one play.
Yeah. I mean, it just completely out physical. The foul trouble, not that it would have mattered, but late in the game, you had Carr, Almanor, and Williams all with 4. So, Jack, we had extended Brandon Garrison time. I mean, he hit a 3-pointer. So,
He did.
He technically hit it.
I mean, he had
It went in the
some
bucket.
moments, but otherwise, does he have something in his brain that he thinks he's a point guard? Because twice I watched him look at Lamont Butler, who was wide open, and saying, and he shrugged him off and called his own number and turned it over. I mean, he's almost got too much energy and is trying to do more than he is capable of, and it showed again tonight.
His coast to coast Euro finger roll at the rim will go on his all-time career highlight tape, and that's he will be on the plane ride home tonight going, damn, think about that. That Euro was sick, wasn't it? And like that, man, did you see that 3 that I made? Sheesh. I think it's just kind of a testament to this team's identity. When the going gets tough, a physical brand of basketball gets played against them. They resort to ISO ball, ISO heavy. Well, I got to go play hero ball and beat this team myself. Brandon Garrison is like the epitome of that. Otega Oweh is the epitome of that. We saw Otega go 3 of 13 in one of his worst games. Still kept his double figure streak going a lot. That streak is not going to end forever. But this team just has this awful tendency of when things get tight and they're kind of backs against the wall, they're like, well, it's going to be me. I have to be the one to save the day. It's not going to be anybody else. It's not going to be team-oriented stuff. And I think that's a Pope issue. I think Pope has not done a great job of regrouping and saying, hey, guys, we're going away from our stuff and playing read and react. And, hey, play off of me, and you're going to play off that guy, and he's going to play off him. It's just backs against the wall. All right, well, he's going to try to save the day. He's going to save the day, and that's how you get down 13 points and lose the game. I don't know how that gets fixed. I think this team is kind of in the middle of an identity crisis, and the blueprint is out to beat them, and it's scary knowing that Mississippi State is a tougher, more physical version of Georgia, and we have to play them in 4 days. So I'm not looking forward to that trip to Starkville because it could get even uglier than what we saw today in Athens.
I don't want to pick on Garrison because he had 13 points, 5 of 8 for the field. He came in, they had nothing else, and he was all right. But I just have this scenario in my head where Mark Pope goes in to check on him in his dorm, and he's watching film on his iPad. Pope's like, awesome, man, it's good. Who you studying? And he's like, De'Aaron Fox, man, John Wall. I'm just trying to be like these guys. And it's like, Brandon, you're kind of a center, let's get you inside, not dribbling as much, but that is a small part of a bigger problem from tonight, physicality being number one. Jack, as you said, they're going to see the dentist on Saturday.
We're talking about root canals, baby. We just witnessed one of them.
This is what Mississippi State does. They've been doing this forever. They create nightmares down there in Starkville, and they're playing so well. I think they'll have the crowd and the excitement. I don't know. I mean, of all the things that went wrong tonight, we could do our top 10 things that went wrong. There was so much, but which is the one moving forward? Do you think concerns you the most, Zach?
Um,
What do you mention Kobe Bryant going 2 for 9 when we weren't even sure if he'd play after his
yeah, and
lights out game? The 3-point shooting was a dud tonight.
he had a couple that just went in and out at timely spots where, like, if they had just fallen in, the game flips completely. Like, they banked in, Georgia banked in a three in that first half, like, and then Kobe has his go in and out. Like, that's a 6 point swing right there. It's just, I mean, I think just the lack of like wanting to fight back is really might just be my biggest issue. And I think it's something we talked about at the beginning of the season, and I was kind of like, maybe will it matter, will it not? But they really just don't have a go-to scorer guy. And like, so when it comes down to the last 10 minutes and you're trying to just will your way back into this game and you're not going to do it by running your sets and your actions, you got to have someone that can go out there and just get you a bucket. Oweh tries to force things a little too much. So does Butler. Jackson Robinson is just not the guy that we thought he is. Kobe Bryant can't create his own shot. It probably helped to have Kerr Kriisa to be able to come in and like maybe inject some energy into these guys as well. So it'd be nice to have him back. But the turnovers and the assists is really like that number, 8 assists to 14 turnovers. That's the opposite of everything we've learned about Mark Pope's teams through the first 14 games of this season. Is that just doesn't happen. They always have a positive assist to turnover ratio. And it was just it was embarrassing. That's
It was
really
higher
all.
than 2 before tonight.
Yeah, and like Pope was bragging about how Amari Williams hadn't had a more than one turnover in his last 5 games. He has three tonight, and there was time like some of his fouls were just ticky tack. I mean, there was one where Jackson Robinson like touched Blue Kane and he like flailed his way, to the bottom to the stanchion in the bottom of the baseline there. And it's like, man, sometimes it is just hard to establish any rhythm when you can't. And the refs are going to the monitor every 5 minutes because Brandon Garrison's elbow tapped Georgia's 7-footer in the ear or something like that. So. It's tough. I don't know. There's a lot of things I could say are the issue right now, but I would have, we're still only 4 days removed from just beating Florida, who just beat the living hell out of Tennessee. So I don't think it's a doomsday situation by any means, but it really is tough to just see Kentucky get worked like that for the entire, like pretty much the entire 35 minutes, like 35 out of 40 minutes for that game. They were just outplayed.
You mentioned the Blue Cane flop, Jack. That was some impressive work. I mean, it's that
It
guy's
was.
credit. He had like 15 and 8. If just on the looks test, if we're being honest, before the game, if you tell me this guy's got 15 and 8, I'm not seeing how he gets there, but he did. So good for him. But that flop was an all-time performance.
And he was coming off, I think, in his last 6 games, he was 4 for 23 from three, like all-time cold streak that he's come in and he's like, hey, let me bang my first 2 threes. Let me like establish some rhythm. Let me kind of set the tone early on. And it's just kind of one of those deals where this team just finds ways to dig holes for itself and then like expects everything else to work out for like work out in its favor. And like that's where the officiating and then they never really got a breath of fresh air. Like it was once the deficit was established, it just kind of felt like we were drowning the rest of the way. And I think that's an issue. Like the body language is something that just keeps popping up to me. It just feels like this team sulks when they start missing shots. They sulk, and when they get called for fouls, here we go again. Like I can't. At some point, they just have to have a mental physicality just as strong as they do in terms of a physical physicality, because they don't have that right now. I just saw a quote. Andrew Carr apparently said in radio tonight that we have to get way more tough, way more physical, maybe a little nasty. Does Andrew Carr have some nastiness in him? I don't know. I haven't personally seen it yet, but yes, Andrew Carr, if you can pull that out of this team's butt, 3 games and they're the 3 losses, it feels like we've watched the exact same 3 games, Clemson, Ohio State, and now this one. It just feels like we're watching the same game over and over again when this team loses. So yes, if they can find some type of nastiness and pull that out of that magic rabbit out of their hat, I would love to see it. But right now, I'm just not seeing any of them have it right now.
I like that attitude. They do need to find some nastiness. Andrew Carr, not the one I picture as big nasty on the team, but if he's the one that needs to spark the nasty, at least he's addressing it and saying it needs to happen. Saturday, Starkville. Jack Pilgrim, you going? You were supposed to be down there in Athens for this trip. Are you all going to try to lace them up and get down to Mississippi? It is one of the nicest.
Beautiful Starkville.
Yeah, it's one of the 16 nicest cities in the conference. So I didn't know if you're going to risk it to get down there or not.
Well, what's funny is Steve and I, like when we talked about, hey, we could probably make it to Athens in one piece if we drove like 40 on the highway the entire length of Kentucky. You know, we just have to leave way early and get there like right before tip off. We'd probably make it, but it's like, man, it's Georgia and it's Athens. Like, this is a top 15 team coming, you know, in Mississippi State, Starkville. Like, we got to push everything into that. So it's like, if we, you know, let's just regroup and let's take care of business, get down to Starkville and kind of pour everything into that one this weekend. And then they come out and lay a dud in this one. You're like, well, I mean, goodness gracious, I don't even know what that is supposed to look like this weekend. So yes, we are going to go down to Starkville, no matter what that's going to look like. It could get ugly, but you know, this team is just so weird and it just pulls random stuff out of its butt. Maybe they're going to go down and win that one by 20. I don't know. This team is just very, very weird. Still 3-0 against top 10 teams in the country and 0-3 against mediocre name brand schools. I don't know what this team is long term, but I guess we'll see what happens in Starkville. But yes, I'll be there.
Well, we know the officiating will be different in Starkville because Don Daly will still be at the monitor in Athens watching clips from tonight's game on Saturday. He has the rest of the week off. They've given him the keys to Stegman Coliseum. He's just going to watch the whole game there at the monitor like he did tonight. He's the reason we're 30 minutes behind schedule, Zach. Unbelievable. And never mind Kentucky lost. Just a terrible product of college basketball to watch tonight.
Yeah, what'd you say, Jack? 2 hours and 33 minutes? 35 minutes was the game?
Yes.
Oh.
It was a little ridiculous, especially at the end. I think someone on KS Board was doing, they were tracking the reviews, like every time they went to the monitor. I believe they legitimately went to the monitor 7 times in this game, and they probably called a flagrant foul maybe once or twice, you know, something of substance afterwards, only a handful of times. But again, how much can I really blame the officials here when Kentucky's just going to play that poorly? But I will, yeah, I mean, I think there is something to having the flow of the game just disrupted so constantly where you just can't get anything going. Like, that has to be tough to play. But then again, Georgia did it as well, and they didn't seem to be bothered by it. Like, they didn't even shoot the ball that well. They shot 7 of 24 from 3, like 41% from the field. Like, these are numbers that, you know, you can, like, Georgia turned the ball over 15 times, had 9 assists. Like, everything on the stat book shows that Kentucky should have at least been a lot closer in this game, other than that free throw number, which was a plus 14 for Georgia. And when you lose by 13 points, there's your ball game.
Yeah, we're not, just to be clear, we're not blaming officials. Kentucky stunk at the sport of men's basketball tonight. They deserved to lose. Georgia was the better team. I'm just saying, I'm not sure those guys were licensed to do that job. I don't know. Did they pass a test? Were they even allowed to do that? It was just overall a bad product of basketball from the SEC tonight. We're going to move on. We're going to forget about it. We got more snow coming. We'll get snowed in again. Everyone be safe, especially you, Jack, because you're going to Starkville, going to see the dentist on Saturday. I guess we'll go do some writing now. I don't know if Pope's spoken yet. I just saw Reed Shepherd has like 49 points in the G League, so we'll check in on that too. But maybe we can find some fun out of this night. Everyone watch us on KentuckySportsRadio.com. We'll write about it. Go to KS Board. Follow all the things. Jack will have sources say. We'll close the book on this throughout the night tomorrow and move on to Mississippi State. But for now, Kentucky lost to Georgia 82-69 to fall to 1-1 in the SEC. The worst loss of the Mark Pope era, the worst performance of the Mark Pope era. Hopefully they'll bounce back. Nasty is coming, according to Andrew Carr. Get ready for it.
God, I hope so.
Bye-bye.